Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the UES Defiant, watching the stars through the main screen. His ship looked like a simple cargo vessel from the outside, but hidden beneath the fake metal plates were enough weapons to destroy a small moon. The Earth Defense Fleet had built dozens of ships like this one. They appeared harmless while carrying enough firepower to surprise any enemy. "Captain, we have something on long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Carter from her station. "It's big, really big." Jake stood up and walked over to her console. The readings showed a massive ship, easily 10 times the size of the Defiant. Behind it were smaller vessels, maybe 20 or 30 of them. They were moving slowly toward human space. "Any idea what they are?" Jake asked. "Never seen anything like them before, sir. The designs don't match anything in our database. They're not using any known propulsion system either." Jake felt his heart rate increase. First contact with an alien race. Every human military officer had trained for this moment, but no one really knew what to expect. The ship designs on the screen looked smooth and curved, almost organic. They were beautiful in a way that human ships never were. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have visitors. Then try to open a communication channel with the lead ship." Amy's fingers moved across her console. "Channel open, sir." Jake took a deep breath. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Defiant. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." The response came faster than expected. A voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded strange, almost musical. "Greetings, Captain Morrison. I am Admiral Zixathara of the Galactic Council Exploration Fleet. We come in peace to welcome your species to the greater galactic community." Jake exchanged glances with his crew. "Galactic Council?" This was bigger than anyone had imagined. "Admiral, we appreciate your peaceful intentions. However, we need to follow certain protocols. Please maintain your current distance while we contact our government." "Of course, Captain. We understand your caution. However, we must perform a standard compliance scan of your vessel to ensure you carry no dangerous materials or weapons that could threaten galactic peace." Jake felt ice in his veins. A scan of his ship would reveal the hidden weapons immediately. The Defiant was designed to look like a cargo hauler, but any deep scan would show the plasma cannons, missile tubes, and shield generators hidden throughout the hull. "Admiral, I'm afraid we cannot allow any scans of our vessel. This is standard protocol for our species when meeting unknown contacts." There was a pause. Then Admiral Zixathara spoke again, her voice slightly confused. "Captain, I do not understand. The compliance scan is a peaceful procedure. It causes no harm to your vessel or crew. All member species of the Council submit to such scans. It is how we maintain peace and security in the galaxy." "I understand your position, Admiral, but our answer remains the same. No scans." Jake watched his tactical display as the alien ships began to move. They were positioning themselves around the Defiant, not in an attack formation, but definitely surrounding his ship. His hands moved to the weapon controls, ready to drop the fake hull plating and reveal his true firepower. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral's voice had changed. It was less friendly now. "Your refusal to submit to a compliance scan is highly irregular. We must insist. The scan will begin in 30 seconds. Amy, prepare defensive measures. All hands to battle stations," Jake ordered quietly. His crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had drilled for this scenario hundreds of times. The fake cargo containers on the outer hull began to separate, revealing the true nature of the Defiant. Plasma cannons extended from hidden compartments. Missile tubes opened along the sides of the ship. The simple cargo vessel suddenly looked like what it really was, a predator designed for war. "What is happening?" Admiral Zixathara's voice had lost its musical quality. She sounded shocked. "Captain, your vessel is deploying weapon systems. This is not the behavior of a peaceful trading ship. Admiral, you are attempting to scan our vessel against our will. From our perspective, this is an aggressive act. Please back away and we can continue talking." Jake watched as energy built up in the alien ships. They were preparing some kind of beam weapon. On his screen, he could see the lead alien vessel, smooth, white, and graceful like a work of art. It was aimed directly at his ship. "Compliance scan beginning now," the Admiral announced. A blue beam shot out from the alien flagship and struck the Defiant. Immediately, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. The beam was trying to take control of their computer systems, attempting to shut down their weapons and engines. "They're trying to take over our ship," Amy shouted over the alarms. Jake had trained for this. Any attempt to take control of a human vessel was considered an act of war. Amy, activate electronic countermeasures. Full power. The Defiant's electronic warfare systems came online with devastating effect. The alien beam was not just blocked, it was reversed. The computer virus that the aliens had tried to plant in the human ship was sent back down the beam, striking the alien flagship with 10 times the power. Explosions erupted across the smooth white hull of the alien ship. Their beam weapon went dark and several of their smaller vessels lost power completely. What have you done? Admiral Zixathera's voice was full of shock and pain. We were performing a peaceful scan. You have attacked us without provocation. Admiral, you attempted to take control of our vessel. In our culture, this is an act of war. We defended ourselves. Jake could see the alien ships pulling back, their formations becoming defensive. They had clearly never encountered resistance to their compliance scans before. The beautiful ships now looked fragile and confused. This is impossible, the Admiral whispered, her voice barely audible. All civilized species submit to Council authority. You cannot simply refuse galactic law. Admiral, we are not members of your council. We have our own laws and our own ways. If you wish to continue peaceful contact, you will respect our sovereignty. The alien fleet began to retreat, moving away from the Defiant at high speed. Admiral Zixathara's voice came one last time, filled with something that sounded like fear. What kind of species are you? Jake Morrison watched the alien ships disappear into hyperspace. He knew this first contact had gone very wrong. The aliens had expected humanity to be like every other species in the galaxy, peaceful, cooperative, and willing to submit to authority. They had no idea what was coming. Amy, send another message to Earth Command. Tell them the secret is out, and tell Admiral Anderson to prepare the fleet. Something tells me we're going to need it. Dr. Kethron stared at the data streaming across his workstation, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he tried to understand what he was seeing. The readings from Admiral Zixathera's encounter with the human vessel made no sense according to everything the Galactic Council knew about spacefaring species. The electronic warfare capabilities are completely unprecedented, he muttered to his assistant, a young Valerian named Kixtal. Look at these power readings. Their countermeasures didn't just block our compliance beam, they amplified it and sent it back. That requires technology we've never seen before. Kixtal's scales shifted color, displaying nervous patterns. Dr. Kethron, what does this mean? How could a simple cargo vessel have such advanced defensive systems? The xenobiologist leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. Every species in the galaxy followed the same basic pattern of development. They evolved intelligence, discovered science, developed space travel, and eventually grew beyond the need for violence. The transition to peaceful spacefaring civilization usually happened within a few hundred years of achieving faster-than-light travel. Either the humans are not a simple cargo-hauling species, or their development pattern is completely unlike anything we've ever encountered, Dr. Kethron said slowly. Across the station, Admiral Zixathera stood before the Council of 12, her usually calm demeanor shattered. The council chamber was a magnificent dome of crystal and light, where representatives from 12 different species met to guide galactic civilization. For over 1,000 years, these meetings had been peaceful discussions about trade, exploration, and cultural exchange. Honored council members, Admiral Zixathera began, her voice still carrying traces of the shock from her encounter. The humans are not what they appear to be. Their vessel carried weapon systems that could have destroyed my flagship. When we attempted a standard compliance scan, they responded with electronic warfare capabilities that damaged multiple ships in my fleet. Elder Silvera of the Trade Guild shifted in her floating chair. Admiral, perhaps there was a misunderstanding. Many species are initially suspicious of contact with the Council. Surely once they understand our peaceful intentions, they will cooperate. Elder Silvera, with respect, you did not see what I saw. Their ship transformed before our eyes. What appeared to be a simple cargo hauler revealed hidden weapons that would make our military vessels look like children's toys. And their response time. They were ready for war in seconds. Council leader Morden, an ancient being whose species had helped found the Council eons ago, raised one of his many tentacles. Admiral, are you suggesting that the humans are a militaristic species? That would be impossible. No species capable of interstellar travel maintains significant military capabilities. Violence is something civilizations outgrow long before achieving such technology. Dr. Kethron's voice came through the chamber's communication system. Council leader, I have been analyzing the encounter data. The Admiral's observations are correct. The human vessel's design philosophy is completely unlike anything in our databases. Every system appears optimized for combat effectiveness rather than efficiency or comfort. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the briefing room aboard Terra Station, facing Admiral Pete Anderson and the assembled commanders of the Earth Defense Fleet. The station's war room was a stark contrast to the Council's peaceful chamber, dark metal walls lined with tactical displays showing the positions of hundreds of human warships hidden throughout the system. Gentlemen, ladies, the cat is out of the bag, Admiral Anderson said, his gruff voice carrying the weight of command. Our cover as peaceful traders has been blown. Intelligence estimates that within days every major power in the galaxy will know that humanity has military capabilities. Commander Lisa Brooks, captain of the heavy cruiser UES Valiant, leaned forward. Sir, what's our next move? Do we continue with the peaceful contact protocol? We stick to the plan, but with modifications. Brooks, I'm assigning you to lead a diplomatic mission. Take the Valiant and a small escort. Make contact with this Galactic Council and try to establish proper relations. But be ready for anything. Admiral Anderson turned to the main display, which showed a tactical map of known space. Red markers indicated the locations where hidden human battle groups waited in the darkness between stars. Captain Dale Murphy, take Battle Group 7 and move to the edge of the system. Stay hidden, but be ready to respond if things go wrong. Captain Rita Chen, your carriers will provide cover for any evacuation if needed. Back on the Council station, Dr. Kethron was making a disturbing discovery. He had been comparing the human ship's design with historical records of primitive species, trying to find similar development patterns. What he found made his blood run cold. Kickstall, look at this. I've been analyzing the human vessel's structural design, the placement of their weapons, the thickness of their armor, the redundancy of their critical systems. It's all optimized for one thing. What's that, Doctor? Ship-to-ship combat. Not planetary defense, not anti-asteroid work, not even fighting space monsters. They built this ship specifically to fight other ships. But why would a species develop such technology unless the young assistant Scales turned pale? Unless they expected to fight other spacefaring species? Dr. Kethron nodded grimly. Exactly. Every other species develops space technology for exploration, trade, or escape from dying worlds. The humans appear to have developed it for war. Admiral Zixthera received a priority message from her intelligence officers. The report made her hands shake as she read it. Human radio signals had been intercepted from their home system, and the translation was terrifying. Words like battle fleet, strategic command, and orbital defense grid appeared throughout their communications. She immediately contacted Elder Quintar, the Council's chief diplomat. Elder, we have a problem. The humans are not a peaceful species that happens to have advanced defensive technology. They appear to be a fully militarized civilization. Elder Quintar's ancient face showed confusion. That cannot be correct, Admiral. Such a species would have destroyed itself long before achieving interstellar travel. It is a fundamental law of galactic civilization. Elder, I suggest we send a larger diplomatic mission to their home system. We need to understand what we're dealing with before word of this spreads to the more aggressive species in the galaxy. As the Council debated their next move, they had no idea that their communications were being monitored by human intelligence vessels hidden in nearby systems. Admiral Anderson read the translated reports with grim satisfaction. So they want to send a diplomatic mission to Earth, he said to his staff. They're expecting to find a reasonable species that will join their peaceful galactic community. What are your orders, sir? Commander Brooks asked. Admiral Anderson looked out at the stars where the greatest military force in known history waited in the darkness. We give them exactly what they're looking for, a diplomatic meeting at Earth. But we also show them the reality of humanity. It's time the galaxy learned what a real military looks like. He turned to his communications officer. Send word to all fleet commanders. Operation First Impression is now active. The aliens want to meet humanity? Let's introduce ourselves properly. The stage was set for a revelation that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The Council's diplomatic fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, expecting to find a primitive world with perhaps a few orbital stations. Instead, Elder Quintar found himself staring at a sight that would haunt him for the rest of his very long life. "By the ancient stars," whispered Captain Veltar from the navigation station. "What are we looking at?" Space around Earth was filled with structures. Massive orbital platforms bristled with weapons that could be seen even from their distant position. Asteroid mining facilities had been converted into fortress stations. The moon itself appeared to have been turned into a giant weapons platform, its surface covered with installation after installation. "Sir," the sensor operator said, his voice barely audible, "I'm reading over 300 individual signatures. Ships, stations, defensive platforms. Elder Quintar, this entire system is a fortress." Elder Quintar's tentacles writhed in distress. In his 1,000 years of diplomatic service, he had never seen anything like this. The peaceful trading species they had expected to find had built their home system into a weapon of unimaginable power. "Open a communication channel," he ordered, though his voice shook. "This is Elder Quintar of the Galactic Council diplomatic mission. We request permission to approach Earth for peaceful negotiations." The response came immediately, and the voice that answered carried the tone of absolute authority. "Elder Quintar, this is Admiral Pete Anderson, Supreme Commander of the Earth Defense Fleet. Permission granted. Please follow the navigation beacon to the designated meeting coordinates." As the Council fleet moved deeper into the system, more ships appeared around them, not attacking but clearly visible. Sleek destroyers materialized from behind asteroids, massive battleships uncloaked from hidden positions. Carrier vessels launched fighter squadrons that moved with precision and speed, that defied everything the Council knew about spacecraft operations. Dr. Kethran, who had insisted on joining the diplomatic mission, watched his instruments with growing horror. "Elder, the energy readings from these vessels. Some of their larger ships are putting out more power than our entire battle stations. And look at their fighter craft. On the main screen, human fighters performed maneuvers that would kill pilots of any known species. They turned at angles that should have been impossible, accelerated at rates that would crush normal beings, and flew in formations that seemed designed for one purpose only: destroying enemy ships." Captain Sam Torres, commanding the carrier UES Eagle, watched the alien diplomatic fleet through his command center's main display. His pilots were putting on quite a show, demonstrating capabilities that the Earth Defense Fleet usually kept hidden. The alien ships were maintaining perfect formation, but he could see from their engine signatures that they were nervous. "Admiral," Torres reported to Admiral Anderson aboard the dreadnought UES Titan, "the alien fleet is requesting permission to transmit cultural exchange data. They seem to think this is still a peaceful first contact scenario. Let them transmit whatever they want, Captain. But keep our fighter screen active. I want them to understand exactly what kind of species they're dealing with." Aboard the massive dreadnought UES Titan, Admiral Anderson prepared for the most important meeting in human history. The Titan was humanity's largest warship, 3 kilometers long and packed with enough firepower to destroy continents. Its bridge was designed to intimidate, with angular metal surfaces and tactical displays showing the positions of the hundreds of ships under Anderson's command. Commander Lisa Brooks stood beside him, having transferred from the Valiant to serve as diplomatic liaison. "Sir, the alien fleet is maintaining a respectful distance, but their bioscans show signs of extreme stress. I don't think they were expecting this." "Good," Anderson replied grimly. "It's important they understand the situation from the beginning. Humanity isn't some peaceful species that's going to roll over for their Galactic Council." Dr. Kethran was frantically analyzing the data streaming in from their sensors. What he was discovering went against everything the Galactic Council understood about civilized species. "Elder, these humans haven't just built a military. They've built the most advanced military force in known galactic history. Their ship designs, their tactics, their technology, it's all focused on one thing." "Which is?" Elder Quintar asked, though he feared the answer. "Destroying other spacefaring civilizations. Elder, I don't think they developed space travel for exploration or trade. I think they developed it specifically to wage war among the stars." The revelation hit the Council delegation like a physical blow. Every species in the galaxy had followed the same pattern. They achieved space travel after becoming peaceful. War was something civilizations outgrew when they reached for the stars, but humanity appeared to have reached for the stars specifically to bring war with them. Elder Quintar was led aboard the UES Titan by a human escort. The corridors of the ship were unlike anything he had seen before. Where council vessels were designed for comfort and beauty, every surface here served a purpose. Blast doors could seal sections instantly. Automated weapon systems tracked movement from hidden positions. Even the lighting seemed designed to create tactical advantages. When he entered Admiral Anderson's bridge, Elder Quintar felt his heart skip beats. The human commander was tall and broad, with gray hair and scars that spoke of actual combat experience. Behind him, tactical displays showed the positions of what appeared to be thousands of human vessels throughout local space. "Elder Quintar," Admiral Anderson said, his voice carrying no warmth. "Welcome to Earth. I understand your council was expecting to find a peaceful trading species." "Admiral Anderson, Yes, that was our expectation. Your military capabilities are quite impressive, but surely they are primarily defensive in nature." Anderson's smile was cold. "Elder, let me be very clear about something. Humanity has been preparing for galactic warfare since the day we achieved faster-than-light travel. Every ship, every station, every weapon system you see has been designed with one goal in mind: ensuring that humanity survives whatever threats the galaxy might hold." Commander Brooks stepped forward. "Elder, perhaps we should explain human history. Our species has been at war with itself for most of recorded history. When we reached the stars, we didn't leave that behind. We brought it with us." The words hit Elder Quintar like hammer blows. But that's impossible. Species that maintain militaristic tendencies destroy themselves before achieving interstellar capabilities. It's a fundamental law of galactic development." Dr. Kethran's voice came through the communication system from the Council flagship. "Elder, I've been analyzing their historical broadcasts. The humans have fought thousands of wars, major conflicts involving millions of casualties, and they're still fighting each other even as they build these fleets." "That's correct," Admiral Anderson confirmed. "We have 3 major power blocks on Earth, and we've fought 2 global wars in space already. The ships you see around you? Half belong to the Earth Alliance, a quarter to the Pacific Federation, and the rest to the European Coalition. We're technically at peace right now, but that could change at any moment." Elder Quintar felt his worldview crumbling. "You mean to tell me that you've built this massive military force while still fighting among yourselves?" "Elder," Commander Brooks said gently, "you have to understand. War is what humans do. It's what we've always done. The only thing that's changed is the scale. We used to fight with swords and bows, then guns and tanks. Now we fight with starships and planet crackers." The council delegation returned to their ships in a state of shock. As they prepared to leave the Sol system, Dr. Kethran sent his preliminary report back to the council station. His words would soon spread throughout the galaxy, changing everything. "We came to welcome a new species into galactic civilization. Instead, we have discovered that civilization itself may have been an illusion. The humans represent something we thought was impossible: a spacefaring species that has maintained and perfected the art of war. They have not grown beyond violence. They have weaponized the stars themselves." As the council fleet jumped to hyperspace, Admiral Anderson turned to his staff. "Send word to all fleet commanders. The secret is out. From now on, we operate under the assumption that we're at war with the entire galaxy. It's only a matter of time before someone decides humanity is too dangerous to exist." The revelation was complete. The galaxy now knew what humanity truly was, and nothing would ever be the same. The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within days of Dr. Kethran's report reaching the council station, every major civilization knew the truth about humanity. The peaceful galaxy that had existed for over 1,000 years was about to experience its first existential crisis. On the Trade Guild homeworld of Merchant's Rest, Elder Silvera called an emergency session of the Guild Council. The massive trading station orbited a gas giant, its gleaming spires normally filled with the peaceful commerce that kept galactic civilization running. Now those same chambers buzzed with fear and desperate planning. "Fellow guild members," Elder Silvera announced to the assembled representatives, "we face an unprecedented situation. The humans possess military capabilities that dwarf our combined defensive forces. Our analysis suggests that their smallest warships could destroy our largest commercial stations." Guildmaster Toxin, whose species had built their entire culture around peaceful trade, raised his scaled hand. "Elder Silvera, what are you suggesting? That we abandon our principles and begin building weapons?" "No, Guildmaster. I'm suggesting we do what traders have always done when faced with a superior force. We negotiate. We offer them something they want more than conquest: Across the galaxy, on the crystal spires of the ethereal collective's homeworld, a very different conversation was taking place. The ethereals had evolved beyond physical form centuries ago, existing as beings of pure energy. They considered themselves the most advanced species in the galaxy, and the news about humanity challenged everything they believed. "This cannot be correct," pulsed Elder Christhia, her energy form shifting through colors that indicated deep distress. "A species that maintains violent tendencies cannot achieve true advancement. They are contradicting the fundamental laws of cosmic evolution. Yet the evidence is undeniable," replied Elder Vortan. "The humans have built war machines that our peaceful minds cannot even comprehend. They have turned their entire star system into a weapon. Then they are not truly intelligent. They are aberrations that must be contained or corrected. We cannot allow such primitive thinking to contaminate galactic civilization." But it was on the military world of Krex Prime where the most dangerous reaction was taking shape. The Krex were the only species in the galaxy that had maintained any significant military capability, though they had been peaceful for centuries. General Vextor stood before the War Council, his armored form radiating aggression that had been dormant for generations. "Fellow warriors," he growled, his voice echoing through the stone chambers that had once planned campaigns against neighboring worlds. "We face the greatest threat in galactic history. The humans are not merely militaristic. They are professional soldiers on a scale that defies comprehension." War leader Grixtha, whose ancestors had conquered 3 star systems before the Krex joined the council, activated a holographic display showing human fleet movements. "General, our intelligence suggests that what we saw at Earth was only a fraction of their true strength. They have hidden fleets throughout their territory and possibly beyond. Then we must strike first. If we allow the humans to continue building their forces, they will eventually conquer the entire galaxy. Better to fight them now while we still have a chance." "General," cautioned Elder Morketh, the only voice of peace remaining in the Krex leadership, "attacking the humans would be suicide. Their military technology is centuries ahead of ours. Perhaps we should consider diplomatic solutions." General Vextor's laugh was harsh and bitter. "Elder, diplomacy is what got us into this situation. The Council has made us weak with 1,000 years of peace. Now we face a species that never forgot how to fight, and we're defenseless against them." Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Admiral Anderson stood in the Situation Room deep within Terra Station. The walls were covered with displays showing the positions of human fleets throughout known space, intelligence reports from alien worlds, and communication intercepts that painted a picture of a galaxy in chaos. Commander Rachel Stone, head of Human Intelligence Operations, briefed the assembled officers. "Sir, we're seeing 3 distinct reactions to our revelation. About 40% of galactic species are trying to establish trade relations with us, hoping to avoid conflict through economic cooperation. Another 40% have gone into isolation, pulling back their fleets and closing their borders." "And the remaining 20%? Admiral Anderson asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "They're mobilizing for war. The Krex are leading a coalition of the more militaristic species. Our deep space reconnaissance reports that they're gathering a fleet near the Outer Rim territories." Admiral Anderson nodded grimly. He had expected this reaction. "How many ships are they assembling?" "Best estimates suggest around 2,000 vessels, sir. It's the largest military force assembled in the galaxy for over 800 years. Captain Dale Murphy, who had been monitoring communications from his position in the outer system, leaned forward. "Admiral, there's something else. The peaceful species are starting to panic. Some of them are offering to surrender to us preemptively." The irony wasn't lost on Anderson. The galaxy's peaceful species were so terrified of human military power that they were willing to give up their independence rather than risk facing humanity in battle. It was exactly the kind of situation he had hoped to avoid. "Sir," Commander Stone continued, "President Kate Johnson has authorized the activation of Project Excalibur. Admiral Paul Henderson is requesting permission to deploy the Omega Fleet." Anderson was quiet for a long moment. Project Excalibur represented humanity's most advanced military technology. Ships and weapons that made even the regular Earth defense fleet look primitive. The Omega Fleet consisted of vessels that had been built in secret shipyards in deep space, using technology that pushed the boundaries of known physics. "Tell Admiral Henderson that Excalibur is authorized, but I want those ships to remain hidden until we need them. Let the galaxy think they've seen our full strength." As the human leadership planned their next moves, The crisis was reaching a breaking point throughout the galaxy. On the council station, Elder Quintar called an emergency session of all member species. The great crystal dome that had once hosted peaceful discussions about trade and cultural exchange now echoed with voices filled with fear and anger. Fellow council members, Elder Quintar began, his normally calm voice strained with stress. We face the greatest challenge in our civilization's history. The humans represent something we thought was impossible, a spacefaring species that has perfected the art of war. We should have destroyed them the moment we discovered their true nature, declared Representative Kyloth of the Militant Alliance. Now they've had time to prepare for our response. Destroyed them? Elder Silvera of the Trade Guild responded with shock. Representative Kyloth, we are a peaceful civilization. We do not destroy entire species because we fear them. Then perhaps, said General Vextor, who had been granted special permission to address the council, it is time for peaceful civilization to end. The humans have shown us that our way of life is possible, only because no one challenged it. Now that challenge has arrived. Dr. Kethran stood to address the assembly. His research had continued, and what he had discovered was even more disturbing than his initial reports. Council members, I have been analyzing human historical data. In their recorded history, they have fought over 15,000 documented wars. Some of these conflicts lasted for decades and resulted in the deaths of millions. The chamber fell silent. No species in the galaxy had ever fought more than a handful of conflicts, and those had been quickly resolved through council mediation. But more importantly, Dr. Kethran continued, they have never stopped fighting. Even as they built their space fleets, they continued to wage war among themselves. They are currently divided into 3 major factions that maintain an uneasy peace through what they call mutually assured destruction. What does that mean? Asked Elder Christhia of the Ethereal Collective. It means they have built weapons capable of destroying their own homeworld, and they threaten to use them against each other to prevent war. They have achieved peace through the promise of total annihilation. The concept was so alien to the council species that many representatives couldn't even comprehend it. To build weapons capable of destroying your own world, then use the threat of mutual destruction as a basis for peace, was beyond their understanding. As the council debated what to do about humanity, long-range sensors detected movement in the Krex territories. General Vextor's fleet was moving toward human space, and intelligence suggested they would arrive within days. Admiral Anderson received the news with calm professionalism. How long until they reach our territory? 72 hours, sir, Commander Stone reported. Then it's time to show the galaxy what human military doctrine really looks like. Send word to Admiral Henderson. Operation Excalibur is now active. And contact the Krex fleet. It's time for a conversation. The galaxy held its breath as 2 very different philosophies of warfare prepared to meet. The peaceful civilizations that had dominated galactic politics for a millennium were about to learn that their era of tranquility. 6 months had passed since the Krex fleet met the human Omega fleet at the edge of human space. The encounter had lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, General Vextor's 2,000 ships had been reduced to scattered debris, and the galaxy finally understood what humanity was truly capable of. Admiral Jake Morrison, now promoted to fleet command, stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the UES Sovereign, watching as the first joint human-alien patrol fleet conducted training exercises. The sight would have been impossible to imagine a year ago. Sleek alien vessels flying alongside brutal human warships, learning tactics that their species had never needed before. Admiral, called Captain Amy Carter, who had followed Morrison through his rapid promotion, we're receiving a transmission from the Valerian training ship. They're requesting permission to attempt the Terran suppression maneuver. Morrison smiled. The Terran suppression maneuver was one of humanity's more basic tactical formations, but it required a level of aggressive thinking that most alien species found difficult to master. Permission granted. Let's see how they do. On the main screen, the graceful Valerian vessels attempted to execute the human tactic. It involved using smaller ships as bait to draw enemy fire, while larger vessels flanked from multiple directions. The concept of deliberately exposing your own forces to enemy attack in order to create tactical advantages was something that alien commanders struggled with. They're getting better, observed Commander Lisa Brooks, who now served as Morrison's tactical advisor. 6 months ago, they couldn't even understand why we would risk our own ships to achieve tactical superiority. It's not their fault, Morrison replied. Their species evolved beyond the need for this kind of thinking millions of years ago. We're basically asking them to relearn concepts their civilizations abandoned before they reached the stars. The transformation of galactic civilization had been swift and dramatic. After the destruction of the Krex fleet, every species in the galaxy had been forced to accept a new reality. Humanity wasn't just another member of the galactic community. They were its new protectors, whether the galaxy wanted protection or not. On Earth, President Kate Johnson stood in the newly constructed Galactic Affairs building, addressing representatives from over 50 alien species. The hall was a study in contrasts, elegant alien delegates sitting alongside hard-faced human military officers, while outside the windows, human battle fleets patrolled the space around Earth. Fellow beings, President Johnson began, her voice carrying the authority of the species that now dominated galactic affairs. The Solar Defense Alliance has been operating for 6 months. In that time, we have prevented 3 border conflicts, stopped 2 trade wars, and eliminated the pirate fleets that had been terrorizing the Outer Rim territories for decades. Elder Silvera of the Trade Guild nodded approvingly. The humans had indeed brought stability to the galaxy, though their methods were often brutal by galactic standards. Pirate fleets that had once been captured and rehabilitated through council programs were now simply destroyed by human patrol ships. The question before us today, President Johnson continued, is the establishment of formal defense treaties. The galaxy has enjoyed peace for 1,000 years because no one challenged that peace. Now that external threats are emerging, we must be prepared. Dr. Kethran, who had become humanity's foremost alien advisor, stood to address the assembly. His research into galactic history had revealed disturbing truths that the Council had chosen to ignore. Fellow representatives, the peace we enjoyed was possible only because we remained within our small section of the galaxy. Our long-range surveys have detected civilizations beyond our borders that make the Krex fleet look like children with toys. The revelation sent murmurs through the assembly. The peaceful species had assumed that their corner of the galaxy represented the norm for galactic civilization. The idea that truly hostile species might exist beyond their borders was terrifying. Admiral Anderson, now serving as humanity's first galactic defense coordinator, activated a holographic display showing the outer regions of the galaxy. Our deep space reconnaissance has identified at least 3 major civilizations that appear to be actively expansionist. The Devourers, who appear to consume entire planets for resources. The Hive Collective, which seems to assimilate other species into their collective consciousness. And something we're calling the Dark Fleet, which appears to be artificial intelligence entities in ships the size of moons. The peaceful alien delegates stared at the display in horror. Their beautiful, orderly galaxy suddenly seemed very small and vulnerable. This is why the Solar Defense Alliance exists, Admiral Anderson continued, not to conquer or control, but to protect. Humanity has the military capability to stand against these threats, but we cannot do it alone. Elder Christia of the Ethereal Collective, who had initially opposed human involvement in galactic affairs, spoke with reluctant acceptance. Admiral Anderson, our species has come to understand that our philosophical objections to violence are irrelevant when faced with extinction. We pledge our technological resources to the Alliance. The transformation hadn't been easy for any species. The Ethereals had been forced to confront the reality that their evolution beyond physical form made them helpless against species that hadn't abandoned violence. The trade guilds had discovered that their economic power meant nothing against enemies who simply took what they wanted. Even the Council itself had been restructured, with human military commanders given authority over galactic defense. On the Valerian homeworld, Admiral Zixathera stood before her people's governing assembly, reporting on her new role as liaison to the human fleet. The same being who had once been shocked by human defensive capabilities now wore the insignia of the Solar Defense Alliance. Fellow Valerians, she announced, I have spent 6 months learning human military doctrine. What I initially saw as primitive aggression, I now understand as sophisticated survival strategy. The humans didn't develop their military capabilities out of bloodlust. They developed them because their world taught them that the universe is hostile and unforgiving. Admiral, asked Council Leader Mixtal, Do you believe we can trust the humans? Their power is absolute. What prevents them from becoming the very threat they claim to protect us from? Admiral Zixthera considered the question carefully. She had seen human military planning sessions, had observed their strategic thinking, and had learned to understand their perspective on galactic security. Council leader, the humans could have conquered the galaxy 6 months ago. Their hidden fleets outnumber our combined forces by a factor of 50 to 1. Instead, they chose to protect us. That tells me everything I need to know about their intentions. The truth was that humanity's military dominance was even more complete than most aliens realized. Admiral Paul Henderson's Omega fleet represented technology that was centuries ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. Ships that could destroy planets, weapons that could sterilize entire star systems, and defensive capabilities that made their vessels nearly invulnerable. But perhaps the most significant change was happening in the minds of the galaxy's peaceful species. Captain Sam Torres, now commanding a joint task force of human and alien vessels, observed this transformation daily as he trained alien crews in basic defensive tactics. The hardest part, he explained to his staff, isn't teaching them how to use weapons or how to fly attack formations. It's teaching them how to think like predators instead of prey. Lieutenant Rita Chen, his tactical officer, nodded in agreement. Sir, the Valerian crews are starting to show real improvement. They're beginning to understand the concept of aggressive defense. And the trade guild ships? They're natural logistics coordinators, sir. Once they understood that war is essentially a supply chain problem, they became incredibly effective at fleet support operations. The galaxy had settled into its new reality with surprising speed. Trade flowed more freely than ever before, protected by human patrol fleets. Scientific research accelerated as peaceful species shared their knowledge with human military researchers. Even cultural exchange flourished, as the security provided by human protection allowed species to explore new ideas without fear. But the most important change was in the galaxy's perspective on its place in the universe. For the first time in 1,000 years, galactic civilization was looking outward, preparing for the threats that lay beyond their borders. Dr. Kethrin stood in his observatory, watching human construction ships building massive defense platforms at the edge of known space. The installations were weapons on a scale that defied comprehension, star system-sized fortresses designed to stop threats that the galaxy was only beginning to understand. His final report to the Galactic Archives captured the magnitude of the transformation. We believed we had achieved the pinnacle of civilization through peace and cooperation. We were wrong. We had merely created a peaceful bubble in a hostile universe, and that bubble was only possible because no one had challenged it. The humans didn't join our civilization, they saved it. They showed us that true strength comes not from avoiding conflict, but from being so prepared for it that conflict becomes unnecessary.